My name is Aman Singh. I'm the MLA for Richmond, Queensborough. I'm here today with the Minister of State, Bowen Ma, my colleagues, MLA Yao from Richmond South Centre, MLA Green from Richmond Steveston. I want to acknowledge that we're gathered here today on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people. With us today is Chief Wayne Sparrow of the Musqueam Indian Band. Chief Ken Baird of the Tsawwassen First Nation is also joining us. And I'd like to thank the Richmond Mayor Malcolm Brodie for hosting us today at Richmond City Hall. We're also joined by Delta Mayor George Harvey. We'll hear from both mayors shortly. With me to make today's announcement is Rob Fleming, BC's Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, and our Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation, Ravi Kalan, who will also speak. I'd like to initially ask Chief Wayne Sparrow to come here and open up our event.
Siam Siaya Ichwai Siam Haichka Siam. Good morning. My name's Wayne Sparrow. I'm the elected chief of the Musqueam First Nation. My traditional name is Yakalak. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of my community to welcome each and every one of you here today on this exciting announcement. It's a privilege and honor to be able to stand in front of you as elected chief of the Musqueam First Nation. In our culture and our teachings, going back a long ways, we've always welcomed people into our territory. And I just want to take this opportunity to personally thank Mayor Brodie, Mayor Harvey, for reaching out and making sure when we went through this process that our communities were engaged and involved. It's leadership like that that goes a long ways to helping bridging and working, as I said in the past many times, partnerships and friendships, and where it's beneficial for the communities. I want to acknowledge my good friend Chief Baird from Tsawwassen and all dignitaries that are here with us today. It's been a long time coming, and I would just like to close by acknowledging everybody that's put in the hard work. We have a lot of hard work in front of us yet. As you know, Musqueam is a fishing community and we were very concerned, but the leadership from the mayors gave us the comfort that we could stand here and share this celebration together. So on behalf of my community, thank you. Haichka Siam, Haichka.
Thank you, Chief Sparrow. Some of you may have come here today through the George Massey Tunnel. I know Chief Baird did, just as people have done for over 60 years. Original tunnel has served our communities well for that time, but we're looking forward to a new crossing, one that fits the region and also takes into account climate change, active transportation, one that better connects our communities, one that has the support of residents and the regional leadership. With details, please welcome our Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Rob Fleming.
Off. Thank you so much, and for the record, I wasn't delayed. I think I got that email. For the record, I was not delayed by the Massey Tunnel this morning, although I sympathize with everybody stuck in that congestion. I was leaving Victoria's Inner Harbour when a fog descended, just as I was trying to get to Richmond to lift a fog on the future of the George Massey crossing. So it is a great pleasure to be here and to be joined with my good friend Aman Singh, who's emceeing this event today. I want to begin by acknowledging that we're on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, and it's wonderful to be here in the company of Chief Baird of the Tsawwassen First Nations and Chief Sparrow of the Musqueam people. Let me also thank Malcolm Brodie for hosting us here today in the beautiful city of Richmond, and thank you as well to Mayor Harvey from Delta for joining us. And it's a great pleasure also to be joined by the Minister of State for Infrastructure, Bowen Ma, with us today. This is an important day for the communities of Richmond and Delta. It's a big day for everyone in Metro Vancouver who uses Highway 99 through the George Massey Tunnel on a regular basis. And today I'm pleased on behalf of the province of British Columbia to announce that we will be building a new 8-lane immersed tube tunnel to replace the George Massey Tunnel on Highway 99. From the very beginning, our government's approach was to work with Metro Vancouver to make sure that we delivered the right project for the region. And I'm delighted to be joined in that regard by Mr. Sav Dhaliwal, who is the chair of the Metro Vancouver Board of Directors, who knows very well the effort that was needed to get us to where we are today. Our government worked closely with Metro Vancouver to determine how many lanes would be considered and built, how public transit, walking and cycling would be prioritized in the new crossing for the benefit of all the people in the region. And as a result of that collaboration, we're developing a tunnel that will not only significantly improve travel along Highway 99 corridor, but will also give people real options to leave their cars at home in favor of efficient public transit or active transportation. And this crossing will not be tolled. People will not have to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every year just to be able to get to work. So whether you're a commuter or a parent taking your kids to their soccer game or dance recital, or whether you're a truck driver traversing this nationally significant trade corridor, the new tunnel will be affordable and will make travel better and safer and easier for all users. The new 8-lane immersed tube tunnel will feature 3 general purpose lanes in each direction, as well as 1 lane dedicated in each direction to rapid bus transit. It will also include a separated tube for cyclists and pedestrians that will connect to existing active transportation routes on the Richmond and Delta sides of the crossing. Construction of the new immersed tube tunnel will begin in 2025. The new tunnel will be in service and open to traffic in 2030 at a cost estimated at $4.15 billion. For a project of this scope and the regional interests at play, it's taken time to develop the right project and to conduct the due diligence that has been necessary to be done. From the moment we received the independent technical review of the previous project, we've been working to get us where we are today. We've taken the time necessary to do the proper consultations, to engage with First Nations rights holders and stakeholders. We've done the detailed assessments, and we've sought the best technical advice so that we can confidently deliver the right option for the region. As we reviewed the business case, both options presented, an 8-lane tunnel and an 8-lane bridge, some serious things to consider. We've chosen the tunnel for a number of reasons. It will meet the regional vision and interests and was endorsed by the Metro Vancouver Board, and partnership is extremely important to our government. It will be comparable to existing conditions that drivers understand, whereas a bridge would introduce intrusive new visual, light and noise impacts for the life of that infrastructure. The tunnel will not introduce new navigational restrictions to the Fraser River. It will make it easier for trucks and cyclists with a downhill approach and much lower overall elevation change. And this project will allow to start work immediately on the bottleneck areas of the Highway 99 corridor, and will provide protection from inclement weather for everyone who uses this crossing going forward. While we work through the environmental assessment and procurement for the new tunnel, we're immediately moving ahead with improvements to the corridor that will tie into the new crossing. These improvements include the new Steveston interchange, additional bus-on-shoulder lanes, a new bus-only connection at Bridgeport Road, and upgraded cycling infrastructure. The new Steveston interchange will improve safety and mobility on Highway 99, as well as for east-west traffic along the Steveston Highway. And it will also improve access to transit stops and pedestrian and cycling connections across Highway 99. The Steveston interchange replacement gets underway later this year, and construction complete in 2025. Work on the transit and cycling improvements to Highway 99 corridor will also begin this fall in a few months' time, with construction complete in 2024. These set of improvements total $137 million of investment, and combined with the new crossing will improve traffic flow, manage traffic congestion, and make travel by transit, walking and cycling more convenient and attractive along this section of Highway 99. So let me conclude by saying this. The new 8-lane immersed tube tunnel was the product of a lot of discussion and technical review by experts that were engaged. It was respectfully done with our Indigenous stakeholders. We worked with, not against, the mayors of our region, and it will bring free-flowing transit for the first time across the river at this location. And for the first time, it will provide a connection for cycling and other active transportation to cross the river at this point. And the tunnel will result in significant travel time savings, as well as increased travel time reliability and safety for all Highway 99 commuters. And with that, it is my great pleasure to ask my good friend and colleague, Ravi Kahlon, the Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation, and the MLA for Delta North, let's not forget to say a few words.
Good. Thank you so much, Rob, and good morning to everyone. And I want to say a special thank you to Chief Sparrow for starting us off in a good way. So thank you so much, Chief Sparrow. It's a great day to be here in Richmond on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples. Today is an exciting day for commuters throughout Lower Mainland. The George Massey Tunnel project is another way that our government is showing the commitment to the people of British Columbia. As Minister Fleming has mentioned, this project provides many benefits to people here in the Lower Mainland, with free-flowing transit across the river. Drivers and transit riders can expect quicker commutes that will allow them to spend much more time with their families and much less time stuck in traffic. What makes me excited about this project, there's many things, but in particular what it means for families in the region. My family love to go on bikes. We love traveling through Delta, and many people in Delta love to go over to Richmond, and people from Richmond love to go to Delta. But having to take the shuttle back and forth and waiting for the shuttle and the safety around it sometimes can be problematic. So that's why this will not only help drivers look forward to faster commutes in their cars and trucks, but also for cyclists, rollers, and walkers. Cyclists and pedestrians can expect safer, more thoughtful access to the new tunnel, a connection that currently does not exist. As Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation, these are the types of projects that are game changers for our province. The George Massey Tunnel project is going to lead to significant improvements to Highway 99, to direct connection that we have to the United States, a truly vital commercial and trade corridor for BC's economy. Here in British Columbia, we are leading the country in economic growth and are well positioned to be world leaders and frontrunners on the post-pandemic recovery. The George Massey project is one of the major record infrastructure investments that our government is making. I think it's important to highlight that we are also making significant investments. Minister Fleming announced the SkyTrain extension that will be going all the way to Langley. We removed tolls for Golden Ears and Portman bridges. $245 million infrastructure project that's happening at the base of Alex Fraser, and of course a brand new Patello Bridge, which is starting construction very soon. Projects like these are instrumental in supporting our recovery and long-term economic vision for BC, one in which we build our strength to create a stronger, more resilient province for many years to come. I want to thank Minister Fleming, our local governments, our local First Nations Indigenous partners, and everyone who has collaborated to make this project over the last few years. British Columbians appreciate your commitment, and I know my family, they will enjoy the benefits of this new infrastructure, as will many other families on both sides of the crossing. With that, thank you all for attending this morning. It's a very, very exciting day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ministers Kahlon and Fleming. I'd like to now introduce Tsawwassen First Nation Chief Ken Beard and ask him to come up and speak.
Good morning, everyone. My ancestral name is Tsawwassen. I'm Chief Ken Baird, the elected and the hereditary chief of the Tsawwassen First Nation. Before I begin, I always like to give thanks to the Creator for another beautiful day here on Mother Earth and for sharing these great lands and these great waters with all of us. I also want to acknowledge my good friend Chief Sparrow for welcoming us onto their territory. And thank you, Minister Fleming, for sharing the great news today. And of course, I want to thank Mayor Malcolm Brodie for hosting the event today. Although we are still in a pandemic, we are following public health protocols, and it feels good to be standing here today in partnership with Tsawwassen's neighbors. Tsawwassen First Nation welcomes this decision to move the George Massey Crossing project ahead. Improved mobility and reliability in the George Massey Crossing have been needed for many years now and will benefit every one of us in British Columbia. For TFN specifically, replacing the aging tunnel to accommodate current and future growth in our corner of the Lower Mainland is critical to building a sustainable and vibrant future for the Tsawwassen First Nation. But Tsawwassen is the land facing the sea, and we are the Salmon people. And so we must protect our waters today and for the generations to come. For the Tsawwassen people, the Fraser River is our highway. The Fraser River, I've often mentioned, is the artery of British Columbia. Our food source, our source of medicines, and our teacher. It is also the home of many of TFN's non-human relations, over 100 of which are at risk of extinction. So we are pleased that the province is taking our concerns about this project seriously and has committed to addressing our concerns regarding environmental impacts on the river and on the fisheries and impacts on our Aboriginal and treaty rights. As you all know, Mother Earth is fighting back the way we've treated her over the years with climate change in front of us, all the fires burning across our province and devastation globally. So this project is important to put climate change in front of us and behind us by stopping some of this congestion and pollution that's going into our environment. We look forward to continuing our work with the province of BC and the others represented here today to ensure this project is built in the very best way possible for the future of all our communities. And I really look forward to see the shovels going into the ground. And I'll finally say ironically, I was a little late today. I got caught up in tunnel traffic. So I just want to say collaboratively, in my native tongue, Natsamat. Natsamat is a word I use, that we all work together as one to see this project go forward. So, Haichka, everybody, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Chief Baird, for those words. I'd like to now ask Richmond City Mayor Malcolm Brodie to say a few words. Mayor?
Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Needless to say, I'm so excited and pleased to be here with you today for what is, for the city of Richmond, a very, very important announcement. Now, people may reference to the fact that I'm the host of this gathering at our City Hall, but I would be remiss if I don't talk about the other hosts. We have a number of our councillors. We have Councillor Chak Au, Councillor Bill McNulty is with us, Councillor Andy Hobbs, Councillor Alexa Liu, and Councillor Carol Day, who have all joined us today. Now, if you ask anybody who travels on the Highway 99 corridor, they know what people have said today, which is this is one of the most congested corridors in the entire country. And the key factor in that congestion has to be the tunnel. And it's been a long journey, I don't mind telling you, since that we've talked about this project since the Minister of Transportation in about 2006 or 7 promised that after the Portman Bridge was finished, once they completed that project, that the tunnel would be then twinned. That was the concept they talked about, was twinning the tunnel. Now, since that time of that first conversation, the congestion has only gotten worse. And not only are there more cars there, but the times, it used to be at rush hour that we would have the congestion, morning and night. And now the periods of congestion get longer and longer, so they go a number of hours every day. And of course, during that journey since the 2006 or 7, we had the controversy as to what the proposed and the ideal solution should be. And finally, in 2017, an appropriate consultation was started with all the stakeholders who are involved, with the senior governments, with the cities that are involved, not just Delta and Richmond, but throughout the region, with Metro Vancouver itself, with the First Nations, with many other parties who had an interest in it. And even though if you ask a person on the street who is familiar with the Highway 99, what do you want, a bridge or a tunnel? If you ask them that, usually the answer you get is, we just want something now. But Richmond City Council and Metro Vancouver and the other parties have always felt that the tunnel solution was going to be the best. It would be the optimal solution in terms of the environment, especially in the long term. The optimal solution as we look at growth in the region, as we look at agriculture and preservation of farmland, and of course for efficient and safe public and active transportation. So the City of Richmond very much welcomes today's event and the announcement that's being made. And we feel that this will finally move this project forward with the appropriate solution. This is important for the people of Richmond, as has been referenced, the families of our city, and for business and economic development, which the minister referred to. The businesses want people, or the goods and services that need to get to those businesses in and out. It has to be done effectively and efficiently, and this is going to be a huge part of the answer. And of course, the employees of the businesses have to be able to reach their destination at work, again, efficiently and safely. So it's important for the people of the entire region. And I want to conclude by offering my thanks on behalf of the City of Richmond to the province of British Columbia. I especially want to thank Premier Horgan, thank the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Rob Fleming, and his predecessor, Claire Trevena, and all the other MLAs and ministers who have been involved in this really important decision. This is an important and far-sighted decision. This is a decision and a project that's going to benefit people of future generations for well into the future, and we are very grateful in the City of Richmond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Brody. George Harvey is the Mayor of Delta. Mayor Harvey, the microphone is yours.
Hey, you know what's great about going last? I get to wrap up. I'm very pleased to be here today, and it couldn't have come too soon. I've always said that I'm agnostic insofar as a solution, but I was determined to work with my fellow mayors and Chief Baird, representing the Tsawwassen First Nations, on coming to a consensus. I remember almost 3 years ago after I was elected, Premier Horgan said to me, George, we're going to do it, but you have to get the mayors together in the Lower Mainland and to ensure that he has a collective voice as to what the region wants. I must thank Sav Dhaliwal. Sav, you've been tremendous insofar as supporting, moving this along, calling the mayors together. Thank you very much. I also see Carla Quattro in the audience. Carla, you've been working on this file for how many years? And you also arranged a call from the Prime Minister a couple of years ago with me, who was committed to it. But again, they were waiting for the province to make a decision. I respect that this asset is the provincial government's. It's their decision. They've made a decision now. My concern was always that we have a tunnel, and I've quoted on this many times, a tunnel that's rotting. It has a definite time span insofar as its continued use, and it's getting closer to that every year that we put off the decision. So, Minister Fleming, thank you, and thank the Premier for making the decision now. Now, with that, my city manager who's here, Sean McGill, it's time to get to work, Sean, with the provincial staff to make sure that this asset, this improvement, this new crossing is going to be the best for Delta. And we need to work with my fellow mayors and Chief Baird on the Mayor's Council for TransLink. We need to finally improve the transit system for south of the Fraser. The regional growth is going to go south of the Fraser. We all know that. And it's totally unserviced right now from TransLink. So now that we have a 10-year plan being developed, this timing of this announcement couldn't have come at a better situation. It's because now we can say to our fellow TransLink Mayor's Council members that we need to include a robust transit system in our 10-year plan in time for the opening. And if we don't do that, it doesn't matter what you build. We need to ensure that we can get people out of the cars. And people want to get out of the cars, especially our younger people who can't afford the transportation costs. So I thank you again for ensuring that there's not going to be any tolls, and thank you everybody for attending, and let's move forward. Let's build this new asset. Let's open it as soon as we can, because for Delta, it's extremely important. And to my residents of Delta, the Deltans, it's a good news story for us. To our industrial areas such as Tilbury and Annis's, it's all going to help the goods movements. But I have a vision, and I've said this before. My vision, to wrap everything up, is that we have a very green Highway 99 corridor. One that will not have diesel buses or gasoline buses, one that will have electric or whatever is going to come in the next 10 years. We need to do that. We have an opportunity to do that, and Delta is going to work very hard as a partner with the province to make that happen. So thank you, everybody. Again, thank you for being here, and thank you to the province for making this announcement today.
Thank you, Mayor Harvey. Today is a good day for everyone who relies on Highway 99 for commuting and for those who value the importance of connected communities. With this new Fraser River crossing, the forthcoming corridor improvements, and our government's commitment to the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain, we're helping people living south of the Fraser River to get where they need to go through all modes of transportation. And we'll continue to invest in transit and transportation projects that meet the needs of people of Metro Vancouver. We'd now like to welcome questions from the media. I'll ask Minister Fleming to come back to the podium. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you. As a reminder to reporters on the phone, you may now press star 1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question and one follow-up today. For media in person, we have a microphone here. If you'd like to come to me to let me know you have a question, please do so now. We'll start on the phone with Richard Sussman from Global News. Richard, please go ahead.
Minister, the bridge proposed by the BC Liberals would have been completed next year, 2022. What do you say to people that will be forced to sit in traffic for an additional 8 years because of these delays?
Look, what I say is that we have an exciting infrastructure project that is the right one for this region. It's the one that the region itself prioritized. I don't need to tell you, Richard, how strenuous the objections were from local government. And we viewed from day one since we assumed office that local government has to be a partner. We have to decide regional transportation priorities together because that's how you move forward more quickly. That's why we've already announced a Surrey SkyTrain all the way out to Langley and sought and received federal contributions for it. It's why we've got a project started earlier this year on the Broadway subway expansion It's why we are constructing right now a new Patello Bridge. So all of these regional priorities flow a lot quicker and get to the right and solid decisions when they're made working closely together. And I would also want to thank again Chief Sparrow and Chief Baird here as well, because we're going to have a robust environmental assessment on this project. We're going to continue to work with Indigenous rights holders to include and strengthen this project and receive their perspectives. That's a new way of doing business. Those are amendments we made to legislation in 2018, and this project is going to benefit from those.
Richard, do you have a follow-up?
One of the things about this project being 8 lanes instead of 10 is that because of the commitment to make rapid bus one of the lanes, during rush hour, for those in the morning heading to Richmond and those in the evening heading to Delta, it will actually be the same number of lanes, 3 lanes of traffic. When we had a technical briefing, we were told it would not actually reduce commuter time. What do you say to commuters who, in rush hour, even with the counterflow, are still sitting in traffic? Will this save them time?
It will, very definitely. One of the constraints of the current 4-lane tunnel is that when it's in a counterflow peak period, it goes down to 1 lane in one direction. So you get congestion throughout the bridge, this tunnel rather, wherever your destination is going to. Also, we're building to a new modern standard here. Public transit has never had any priority treatment in this infrastructure before. That will be new. 1 bus is the equivalent of 50 cars on the road that stretch out for kilometers. We need to shift people to public transit. You've heard Mayor Harvey say that they desperately want to expand TransLink service south of the Fraser. That's a regional priority that our government is sympathetic to. That's why we announced SkyTrain extension all the way out to Langley. So that modal shift to public transit is a key component of this project that will also give additional capacity. And finally, active transportation as well. I don't know what transportation is going to look like in 10 years, but I notice a lot more people using e-bikes. Pedestrian connections are incredibly important. There'll be a 5-meter wide right-of-way for pedestrians and cyclists to co-use on a crossing that has always been forbidden to active transportation. That will now become a key component.
Our next question over the phone is from Lisa Yuzda, News 1130. Lisa, please go ahead.
Hi, Minister. I just wanted to follow up on what Richard was asking. So, one of the things that was said is that they will reduce congestion, but if during rush hour, people, in the morning heading downtown are still 3 lanes, there's still going to be a backup of traffic there. So how does this ease things for them, or it doesn't unless they get on a bus?
No, it will. Again, it's the counterflow is the problem. It's the best solution given the constraints of the current infrastructure that we have, which was built in 1959. I don't know which Beatles album we were on at that point, but it's very old. That's why it needs to be replaced. And at peak times, going down to 1 lane is a significant source of congestion and frustration for commuters that will be eliminated by building to an 8-lane standard, by building dedicated bus lanes that will freely flow and be part of a rapid bus network south of the Fraser.
Lisa, do you have a follow-up?
I'm just not clear because you're saying it will reduce congestion, but during the tech briefing we were told very specifically that the people who are traveling the 1 lane counterflow that will now be the opposite, going against traffic will now be reduced from 25 minutes to 7 minutes, but for the people going in the main direction, they would still have 3 lanes and their trip will be exactly the same. So I don't see how this benefits those people.
Well, first of all, the package of intersection improvements and on and off ramps that I mentioned, the east-west connections that sometimes conflict with the north-south connections will be resolved. That's part of the congestion management plan here. It's also about how traffic flows. So when you have wider lanes, better infrastructure, a tunnel that is better designed, you have improved traffic speeds and you have improved intuitive driver behavior that reduces congestion. So those are all the sorts of things that the experts that were part of reviewing this versus the 8-lane bridge modeled and made recommendations on.
We'll next go to questions in person here. So Maria Rentana, Richmond News, please go ahead.
I'm just wondering about the $4.1 billion budget. So how much of that is provincial money, and are you getting some federal money being contributed there?
We certainly hope to get significant federal contribution to this. I must say that the discussions we've had with the federal government have been very productive in this regard. There certainly was a commitment as well, I think, from the Prime Minister in 2019 before the business case was completed. We've shared all that information with the Government of Canada. We've announced significant infrastructure projects with the Government of Canada, some very recently, like the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain, and we think that this will be one that will enjoy the support of the Government of Canada going forward. We've made the case that this is a nationally significant trade corridor. From my point of view, it's very similar to the Gordie Howe Bridge in Ontario and the Champlain Bridge in Quebec. The only difference is this one's in British Columbia, but it's significant to getting goods to market south of the border. The government's made it a priority to improve trade ties with the United States. That's why this infrastructure project is a perfect candidate. To my knowledge, the major parties competing in this election are supportive as well. So I don't think this is, going to be politicized. I think this is going to be the kind of partnership that we would expect between the senior levels of government. It's known that this is one of the worst congested points, as Mayor Brody mentioned, in all of Canada. We need to work together to resolve it together.
But those dollars aren't confirmed.
Pardon me?
Those dollars are not confirmed.
Those dollars are not confirmed, but as I say, the level of engagement with the Government of Canada has been very high, and we've been working very hard since the spring of this year to work with the federal government on that. And the indications we've had, and even commitments made by the Government of Canada previously, I think are ones that are very good for BC to continue to work on with the federal government.
So can you tell me how much is provincial money?
Right now, the entire project that I've announced, the $4.15 billion, it will be a provincially built project, but as I said, we're seeking contributions from senior levels of government to build that.
Question today comes from Maria Weisgarber with CTV. Maria, please go ahead.
Mr. Fleming, is there any expectation on when this new crossing, considering the expected growth in the area, could end up seeing exceeded capacity? How long is the lifespan expected for this?
Yeah, so there is modeling built into the business case, and I should say we will be reviewing a version of the a version of the business case that has everything except the commercially sensitive details. So the things like traffic and congestion modeling will be part of that business case. Some of the assumptions, the growth projections. We've worked very closely with TransLink on this as well, and of course it's informed by the Transport 2050 plan that the region has. It's exactly congruent and in alignment with Transport 2050 and the revisions that the Mayor's Council are making to the Regional Transportation Plan now.
Follow-up?
Sorry, and that business case is going to be made public, I believe. Can you tell us when that will be available for people to look at?
The technical term for reviewing the business case is soon, so I think it will be available quite soon for review. It's just going through legal to make sure that we don't include commercially sensitive details that would disadvantage the taxpayer.
Our next question, we go back to the phones for our final question, which is from Derek Penner with Vancouver Sun. Derek, please go ahead.
Hi. The timeline for this project is dependent on getting through a new environmental assessment. There was an environmental assessment certificate for the previous bridge project. How confident are you that you will make that environmental assessment within the timeline to open by 2030?
We have we've built the timeline based on the environmental assessment guidelines about what periods of different types of comment, investigation, reporting are scheduled like. So this is a major project, complicated project. It will be assisted by the high level of detail that was in the business case. So there were 5 environmental reviews, for example, that were a component of the high level business case analysis that was done for the province that will be a part of the environmental assessment. So yeah, no, we're very confident that the environmental assessment that's laid out for this project and as a requirement will be met. And we're also very pleased with the amendments that were made in 2018 to make sure that all the mitigation measures that are identified will be part of the issuance of a certificate for the project, and that Indigenous people, in an era of reconciliation now as our government moves forward doing business differently, is inclusive of Indigenous perspectives and standing within a statutory process like the environmental assessment. Derek, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, how much with respect to public transit, rapid buses is included in this, but how much capacity will that have versus the potential for a SkyTrain-like facility that would have higher capacity?
Yeah, and the analysis from TransLink and others that were part of the business case review that made this recommendation, we did do a SkyTrain-like rail investigation, was in fact that rapid bus created more flexibility and the capacity for more ridership growth because the destinations vary differently, and a fixed line didn't provide the kinds of flexibility. It wasn't the appropriate technology for this project. If you look at rapid bus that we've recently replaced and will be upgrading with rail-based, and I'm speaking specifically of the Broadway subway line, that express lane and rapid bus service along the Broadway corridor had grown to 110,000 daily boardings, one of the highest in North America. It will now be able to handle 300,000 boardings per day on the SkyTrain extension. So there is significant capacity for growth from rapid bus infrastructure, and that's the appropriate technology in many different areas that's identified by TransLink and Metro Vancouver for transit investment going forward.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks everyone for joining.